seat. There's no better place to be. Two Midwestern Gen Xers emotionally stunted. Subtlety was not part of our upbringing. So here we are in all of our glory, country crocked. I can't believe it's not better.
And here we are in all of our glory, country crocked. I can't believe it's not better. Oh man, that is a bop. I am deeply sorry that Angela can't sing better, but I don't think that's why you guys tune into our podcast every week. So we're on episode 13, and this is the episode about what happens when you do tell, but nobody does anything about it. It's about growing up in environments where boundaries don't exist, where things feel off, but nobody names it. And you don't even realize it wasn't normal until you're a lot older. It's about what it means to carry that into your adulthood, into your relationships, into your body, and even into the way you see yourself. And it's about the moment things start to shift, like when you have your own kids, or you finally say it out loud, or you realize you're not crazy for remembering what you remember. This is a conversation about generational trauma, about childhood sexual abuse, about domestic violence, about emotional abuse, about silence, about what it costs to protect the wrong people. So some parts of this story may be difficult to hear, especially if you've lived through it. And for anyone who's listening who's still holding all that in, you're not the only one. This is Neela's story.
Hey, Ange, how you doing?
Oh, good day, Kendra. I am doing all right. Hope everybody had a happy Easter. Uh, yeah, I got to
Yes, we
spend
did.
some time with the family. I noticed I missed a FaceTime call from your house. I imagine I avoided narrowly putting my face to a screen of a bunch of family members, but
Oh, absolutely, you did. I saw you saw a movie. What movie did you go see?
oh, I took the kids and we saw the Mario Galaxy movie. So
Any
that
good?
was I really liked it. I liked the first one. It's got Chris Pratt in there. He plays Mario and Charlie Day and Jack Black's so there's a lot of Easter eggs in there, for the moms.
Nice, nice. Yeah, those are some good Easter eggs. Um, yeah, we've had a lot going on lately, with us. I'm on spring break, and so our we've kind of taken a spring break too for with our podcast, which has been kind of nice, little tiny break. And I knew we were coming back today with a special guest. I met
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to really get to talk to her and get to know her. She has an amazing story. I got to hear a little bit of it. She spoke at one of my events that I had put on a few years ago. And she's always been a constant at my events. So it's been really nice to get to know her, to see her growth. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to introduce her. We're going to bring her right in. My friend today that I'm bringing on is Miss Neela. And I'm excited for her to share her story. And maybe you and I think, can learn some stuff from her too. I think, she went through stuff at a younger age, and it's always kind of nice to hear how other people handle things and maybe pick up some tricks or pick up something that maybe my therapist didn't say that her therapist did, or maybe something that she does that helps her get through those tough moments. So I am going to, first of all, say thank you, Neela, for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. So excited to be
Awesome.
here and chat with you guys today.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, who are you? Like, in your own words.
Oh, in my own words, I am Neela the wife, Neela the mother, Neela the business owner, Neela the rock star, Neela the
Ooh.
friend. I have
Like
lots of,
literally?
yeah,
Literally.
literally. I sing in a band, and it's been the funnest thing I've done in a really really long time. It's taking up that the space that I have in my mind that needs to be filled with performance. So, yeah, I grew up
I mean,
performing. So,
I love watching your journey doing that too. You are amazing. You inspire me. I'm not going to get on a stage anytime soon because I can't sing in the shower. That's about it. Like when I'm in the shower, I can belt a tune. Let me tell you, and to me, it sounds amazing. But Neela, you are very talented. You're a talented singer, a talented dancer. So I'm so excited to have you. And I know I'm so excited for you to meet Angela as well. And I can't wait for you to share your story with everybody.
Yeah, I'm excited to get rolling and answer any questions you guys have and maybe inspire a few people along the way.
Well, I guess, yeah, Neela, I'm so excited to meet you. You know, any friend of Kendra's really is a friend of mine. Like she's one of my best friends, and I've never met a friend of hers that I didn't care for immensely. So, really looking forward to getting to know you better. But today, I guess I want to know, as we're kicking off, where does your story begin in your own words? And what is the
So,
beginning of your tale?
the beginning of my tale, it's actually kind of a hard moment to figure when did it actually start? Because I think when it comes to child sex abuse, I think there is some grooming that goes along with the beginning of that. The trying of things, the how far can I push buttons until things actually start. So it's really hard for me to put an age on when it actually did begin. I know it was single digits, and I know it was probably before the age of 8 that I
Okay,
remember the
so
first encounters.
So what I'm hearing, just to make sure I'm understanding correctly, is that it's kind of hard for you to say when your abuse started because it doesn't always feel like abuse, right? But like kind of what Kendra and I
Right.
talked about before, like these little boundary tests. Like okay, I can go this far, I can go this far, I can go this far.
Right, and when you're brought up in a generational trauma setting, right? There's so many boundaries that are pushed by so many family members that I think you don't realize when a boundary is being pushed. You don't realize it's inappropriate behavior. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Absolutely.
I think that there was so many times in my life that I did not realize that the behaviors that were occurring were inappropriate until, oh my gosh, younger times when I would say things around friends and they'd look at me like I was crazy, like, "Okay, that's not right. That I shouldn't have said that. Why shouldn't I have said that? Let me investigate that, when I get home. Think about that. Why did my friend react like that when I said that?" Whether it was a word that was constantly used in my family when I was growing up, or whether it was talking about something that happened in the household, people, that reaction that you don't realize it's wrong because that's just how it is in your house. And it's not how it is just in my house. It's how it is when we go to other family members' houses because this is a line. It wasn't just my home, it was the generation. It was the whole family. So I can't tell you exactly when it started. I know I was very young. I know I was
What
very,
what
very young.
what were some of the emotions you remember carrying from a child into the adulthood? Like, let me better clarify that. Was there that defining moment? Like, hey, this was done to me. This was wrong. Not just by words that you said, just like boom, like bright light. Oh my gosh, I went through that.
The bright light that went, "Oh my god, I went through that," is when I had my own children. I think that's when the bright light actually really turned on. Don't get me wrong, there were times before that that I knew I was abused. There were times before that, like when I turned 11, I actually told that this was happening to me. Um,
Wow.
that was turned around on me and I felt like I had done something wrong.
I
That's
feel
another
that.
part of the story, but I felt like I had done something horribly wrong, and I carried around that shame upon myself and upon my soul for a very, very long time. Um, but it wasn't until I reached 35, about 35 years old, and my own children were in kindergarten, 1st grade, when I heard a family member speak to my child the way that they spoke to me, and I went, "Hell no. No, you are not gonna speak to my child that way. You are not gonna discuss things like that in front of my child." And that's when I realized it almost opened up a floodgate of memories and feelings and emotions, and honestly, I felt like I was going crazy. I really thought I was
Mm.
going crazy. Anxiety swept over me. I became the biggest mama bear. I wouldn't let my kids out of my sight. I wouldn't let anybody take them anywhere. I wouldn't let anybody take them in their car. I wouldn't let them stay overnight anywhere. Um, I wouldn't let them go to grandparents' houses. I would not let them go anywhere without me knowing exactly where they were. And I'll say that my mom, she would try to take them to a grandparent's house and did not understand why I wouldn't let her take them. Now, my grandparent was not my abuser, was not a grandparent. They were not nice to me, but they did not sexually abuse me. But they were not nice to me. They were not kind to me. Um, but I did get inklings that there was inappropriate behaviors from other people because my mom said, "Don't worry about it. I'll lock the bedroom door. They'll be fine." So,
Wow.
if you have to lock a bedroom door between your 5-year-old granddaughter and another member of the family, that there's a problem.
Absolutely, there is.
That shouldn't be, and that just tells you how deeply generational all of this goes.
So there's a quiet acknowledgement that there's inappropriate behavior, but no overt calling it out, like no overt putting safe guardrails in place for the kids, no overt boundary setting or anything like that.
Right.
Although it sounds like you've been tried to.
I definitely have some very, very strong boundaries that are not understood. I've been blackballed by the family, and that's okay.
Mhm.
That's okay because my children came out unscathed for the most part. Um, I would say that I've been accused of keeping my kids from the family. I've been accused of, um, hurting my mother's feelings on a regular basis. But at the same time, I could not let my children be in the same situation that I was in. I could not let that happen. So I cut the cord. And that was a very, very difficult thing for me to do.
I actually I feel that. I feel that to the core, especially with Angela's and I story, and more towards Angela. And we've had, I talked to you briefly when I ran into you about to start this. We've had the same thing by one of the family members that we felt new, and it really everything lines up that they had to have, and they have discovered, our story and have tried to change our narrative. We've been called liars. And it hurts me because I know Angela would love this great relationship with a parent. And it's so hard. So it's almost like refreshing. Just it's sad to say that, but it's almost refreshing hearing the same from you.
It is hard to not have that relationship because, here I am in this home that I wanted to be loved in. And I know without a fact that my mother loved me. Beyond words, my mother loved me. But it was just so she was a difficult person to love and a difficult
Mhm.
person to be in the home with. My dad was an alcoholic and she was dealing with the fallout of that. She herself was an abused child, sexually abused, physically abused, mentally abused. So she herself was broken. And then it happened to me. And she was not mentally equipped to handle it. So, though she knew, and I told her in great detail what happened, it got turned around and it must have been my fault. What did I do to put myself in that position? And there was no possible way I could have done it. I was young. I was 8, 9, 10 years old. I finally at 11 was when I told. And then I almost wished that I hadn't, that I could have gone back and covered it all back up and pretended that it didn't happen because there was such a huge break in the family dynamic after that. But then here I am in this house where I was being abused in the home. My mom knew about it. I begged her not to tell my father. But then my father turned around and said, "I know what you did. Your mother couldn't handle it, so she told me." So not I know what
Wow.
happened to you, I know what you did. Which still grates on me. I'm 53 years old, and that still grates on me. That was 42 years ago, and I can still feel it like it was said to me that day. But the coping skills that we all of us had to learn to be in the house with our abusers and to be in the family with our abusers, it forges relationships in a very strange dynamic. Like you want to love your family. So
Mhm.
you're told to love your abuser. You're told to love the people who did not protect you. You're told that you're supposed to love them no matter what, but that's your mom, but that's your dad, but that's your sibling, but that's your grandma, that's your grandpa. Yes. So why didn't they love me enough to keep me safe? Why didn't they love me enough to hear me when I was screaming. And and how many ways do we cry out as survivors? How many ways did we cry out with our behavior? And I carried that shame to school with me every single day. I'd get on the bus to go to school. And I remember the first time I had to get on the bus to go to school after I told my mom what happened, I stepped up on the bus and I almost couldn't go because I could swear that every child on that bus looked at me, looked right through me, and knew what had happened to me. And I can still feel what that feels like if I think hard enough about it, you know? So I think as abuse survivors, we learn to carry so much weight and so much pain in our bodies because we have
Mm.
to live through that. We have all these coping skills and all these ways to survive in a dangerous place because it is a dangerous place emotionally, physically, mentally. We're living as a gazelle in the Serengeti. We're getting chased all the time. And that is just no way to go through life with all that anxiety and that that run. I gotta go, I gotta go, I gotta go. And everywhere you go, you're not safe. So, I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but when I was going through that after I got on the bus and saw all those people looking at me and just knew that everybody knew what I had done. I felt so much shame on myself. I had no um self-worth after that. None at all. And I go to therapy now and she asks me all the time, "When did you start hating yourself?" That's the moment. That's it. That's the moment. That's the moment that I could not stand to look at myself in the mirror anymore. That's the moment that I decided that what God made was not good enough. That what I was as a person was not valuable because I was not valued by the people in my own home. So therefore I must be nothing. And I lived my life like that from then until I still fight. I still fight it all the time. As confident as I might seem on the stage with that microphone in my hand, little Neela getting on the bus is always going to be carried in my soul.
Well, I'm wondering, Neela, God, that man, that's tough. I'm so sorry you went through that. Kendra and I think, wonder all the time what it would have been like to tell as kids, would we have saved ourselves? Would we have saved all these other people in our family? And I think, we hear from so many people like you, that you know, did did tell as kids and that the outcome's not
Positive.
not different like we imagine it would be, and it's sad and it is scary for kids to come out and tell the truth. So, as much shame as you've carried, like, I want you to know how brave you were 42 years ago. Like, you were
Absolutely.
absolutely the beginnings of a brave little Neela warrior. And, I hope you are happy looking at yourself in the mirror now, because you're a beautiful woman. But, what I wanted to ask you, you talk about, telling your mother when you were 11 years old and not being believed. I'm curious as to, like, how your family dynamic changed at home when you were a kid. Was it, like, something that kinda came up once, it was never talked about again, and then so just everything was kinda icy and cold after that?
It came up the one time, and I got sent to my room after I told my mom what happened. And when I explained to her what happened, she goes, I want you to tell me what you did. I want you to tell me step by step what happened. There was no coddling, there was no hugging, there was no, oh my gosh, babe, I'm sorry you went through this. Let's get you attention. Let's take you to a doctor, anything. There's nothing that. She wanted me to explain the mechanics of what happened.
Okay.
And I guess I don't know why she did that, maybe to see if it was exactly what she thought it was, and I explained to her the mechanics of what happened, and she said, "Well, part of that is your fault. So, I'm gonna talk to this person now, and you're gonna go to your room." And then, there was a conversation with that person, and then the next thing I know, "Why did you tell?" I got in trouble. It was never brought up again, between my mother and I, except when I got my monthly period. She said, "I want you to know you can get pregnant now." That was it.
Wow.
So did anything ever happen to protect you from that? abuser?
Oh, so the exact opposite of that. The only thing that happened after that is whenever my mom went to work, my grandma would come over and sit with us, my dad's mom, and I love that woman beyond words. But she would come over and sit with us, um, and I mean that was about it. There was
Did
there was still other situations where we were left alone, and
Mm.
you know, one thing that really I brought this up to my mom not that long ago when we got in an argument about this. Um, because I bring it up now. I bring it up now. I talk about it now.
How
But
recent
we'll
has
talk
that
about
been?
that later. Oh, how recent has that been? I actually got in a really big discussion with
Oh,
my mom about 2.5 years ago, and I was very loud and real about what I went through. And I said, I don't know if you've ever heard me, but this is what happened to me. I was raped, I was molested, and it was constant and it went on for years. And you didn't help me. So if you want to know why I can't get along with that family member, this is why. And it had to do with documents as far as her will went and the way that they were written, and that this person has power of attorney, power of medical attorney, power of financial attorney, everything above me. And she said, well, it's because you two can't get along. And I said, well,
ugh.
this is why we can't get along. We had gone over to a neighbor's house, and the grown-ups were downstairs, all the kids were upstairs, and it was time for everybody to lay down for the night. I got put in a bedroom with that person,
Oh
and
my god.
things began. And I said no, and it got loud and it got painful. And I said no. So I went downstairs and I said, I'm not going to lay down anymore. I'm going to stay down here. No, you're not. You're going to go upstairs. And I looked at her like, how what are you doing? How can you do this right now? This was just a couple of months ago that this happened. And you're sending me back upstairs with the same person in a bedroom with the door closed. It was like it didn't even occur to her that it was a problem. Like, kids are out of sight, out of mind. It doesn't matter. As long as the grown-ups are doing what the grown-ups wanna do, the kids are out of sight, out of mind. And I brought that up to her in that conversation we had a couple of years ago, and I said, "You kept putting me in that same situation over and over again." And she goes, "Well, you told me it happened one time, you never told me again." And I said, "How many times did I need to tell you?" I
Isn't
told you
once enough? Yeah.
yeah, I
right.
told you once. "Well, I thought it only happened one time." I said, "That was the one time I could no longer take it. I couldn't take it anymore." And
How
then
long did the abuse how many years or how long if
about when I turned 12, so it was shortly after this incident that I'm discussing, shortly before I turned 12 years old.
so, like, from 8 as
From
far
prob
back as you can remember, it's as far back as you can remember
Mhm.
to okay. Because
About
I've
12.
noticed, like, Angela and I, a lot of the times, when we have our discussions, we can't remember previous things. I mean, some stuff will come back to us, like, bits and pieces, and like you said before, body memory. And that's why I wonder if it did start sooner and possibly you didn't know.
It very well could have started sooner. Um, it just the way it's such a blur as to when it began. But I do know that, I think, like I said, when those things are normal in your house and you go to other people's houses and those behaviors begin there, there were other people. It's because I had no self-worth. There were other people that were able to put their hands on me because I didn't understand that that was a boundary that I should have.
Mhm.
So there were neighborhood boys. There were a couple neighborhood boys that put their hands on me when I was young. And it's honestly because I did not know that that was a boundary that I needed to have because these things were happening in my own home. I would say body autonomy. I didn't understand what was mine and
Right.
what was off limits. So that's a very difficult thing to carry around because I wonder how much of this was my fault. When I do realize at my advanced stage of therapy that it was not me. It was just, listen, if that's the way you're raised, that's what you're going to do. You don't do better until you know better. And
Mm.
that's a big burden that I carry with myself.
Well, what are you intentional about doing differently with your kids? It sounds like you're very, purposeful and what environments you bring them into, who's able to influence them and babysit them. But, as far as like what do you do as a parent? Like what do you do that's intentional? That says like I'm gonna provide a safe emotional and physical space for my kids.
I definitely did not let them go places with my mom, which was a big thorn in her side. I didn't let her take them places because my my point of view in my mind was you didn't keep me safe. So you're not going to keep my children safe. So I didn't let my children go anywhere with my mom. I did not let them go over to family members' houses unless I was there. And there was never a time where my eyes were not on them when they were younger, as far as going to family members' houses. Um, when when it was time for sleepovers, they would go to like my daughter had one friend. She'd do sleepovers at her house, and that was it. And then friends would mostly come to our house to hang out. I didn't let my kids go a lot of places. And if they did, I would go meet the parents, stay there for a little while, make sure everything was okay, constant check ins. At any time they wanted to come home, they could come home. No questions asked.
That was, like, the same, I think, with both of us too. I mean, my kids. Our kids kinda
Yep.
grew up together. I think our your son and my daughter are in the same class. I think that it's part of the trauma response and that worry and that like, I know my son only and my daughter, they had one friend. That was it. And I had to know those parents. I had to talk to those parents. And I felt I now that our children are adults, I felt like maybe I excluded them, but when I asked them, they said no because, like you, we had everybody over here. We were the hub, and we were able to do that. But I told Angela, there's a lot. We our family events and stuff. I didn't go to Neela. I didn't. I didn't take my kids. I didn't go, and I couldn't till later in life, explain why I couldn't. And I'm not saying that everybody in the family knew. And I guess that's going to be my question to you is who outside of your home do you know if anybody knew?
I don't know if anybody knew. I do know that my mom asked me one time if the family member that hurt me hurt another family member. And I went off on her about that. I said, "How dare you ask me that? You don't ever ask me that again. You didn't care about it when it happened to me, so don't ask me that again. If you want to ask them." But I do have my suspicions that there was another family member that was also abused. I've asked
Yeah,
her straight out and she says no, but it will also send her into a pretty bad anxiety spin when I bring it up to her. We
yeah,
used
we
to be
discovered that.
very
We
close
discovered a
and we're
lot of our
not.
family. Sorry.
I'm sorry. We used to be me and this family member used to be very close and now we are not at all. But she is close to the person that abused me. And that's one of the reasons
Wow.
I cannot be close to her because of that.
I've had
I
to
can't bring myself to do it.
Yeah, I've had to cut out relationships myself, and it has nothing to do with not caring for those people, but just the alliances they choose to keep or the friendships they continue to foster. It's very triggering for me, especially on social media and stuff. You see, people just interacting with each other over pictures and comments and stuff. And like just to log in and see that on my feed, like front and center. It's almost I don't know, it sounds weird to say, but it's almost like they're bragging about, this relationship. Like, that's the weird headspace I get into, like, look at them putting their weird relationship, like, on display, like, where I feel embarrassed, like I'm looking in on something or, like, this is what I could have if I weren't such a big dumb old bitch, Like, I could have this friendly, gabby relationship, but I can't, I can't see it. It's weird to me just watching people interact with abusive people they know to be abusive or people they know have hurt other family members, they say things like, "What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? I love this person. I love this person." And, it is possible to love a person and hold a person accountable for their actions at the same time.
But I
Um
feel that what you're saying. I would love to have that big family. I would love to have those alliances. I would love to have those big family Christmases again, and the smiles and the laughter and the all the cousins and nieces and nephews together. And I would love for my children to have that many kids to hang out with in the family. But we can't have that because those people align with my abuser, and I can't do it. Like I and but at the same time I also but this is talking about those coping mechanisms that we had to have living in that household and being around those people when we were younger. We were kind of forced to love them. We were forced to forge relationships with people who hurt us. So as we get older and the realization of that abuse comes even further to light to us, and then the people who love those people are over here, they've been jamming those two things together for so long, that break hurts even more because this is my abuser, this is the family supporting my abuser. I'm way over here in left field now because
Right.
I don't have the me I could have had if that didn't happen to me.
I'll say this. It's I hear like and feel this so deeply. And for me personally, I can't stand it when they say, well, they didn't hurt me, or I just want to be in the middle. Like not even the people, the closest family members, even like the cousins or there's extended, second cousins or something. They've heard about the story and they'll say, well, I just want to remain in the middle. I don't want it. To me, that's already picking a side. That's already picking. You've already calling me. You're not believing me, and you're calling me a liar. I will say this today, Neela, as hope. Angela and I. My mom talks to both of us probably like 3, 4 times a week, sometimes a day. And
Well,
when
now
we
Jimmy
first,
too.
yeah, now Jimmy, the first time that we told her about this podcast, I said, "Hey, mom, I'm going to tell you, there's going to be things that are going to get said. There's things that I'm upset that I have to work through against you. And we're trying to get this story out to bring healing." And she's kind of like, I mean, she's never listened to it because I've asked her not to. Angela's asked her not to. But something that she did this past week really gave me hope. She came to Angela first because to be honest, she's actually closer to Angela than she is me. But she went to Angela and she's like, I'm doing research. I'm researching this. I'm finally and then she called me and she's telling me about this research. She's researching childhood sexual abuse. She's talking to nurses. She's talking to doctor friends that she has, and she's understanding now. And now I'm not going to say that she feels guilt because we've forgiven her, but the remorse is doubled. Like, oh my God, I cannot believe I didn't see these signs, or I didn't listen to you when you did come out at 20 something years old, or listen to Angela when she came out in her late 30s with it. And that has brought me, I don't know about you, Angela, but this past week it's been, and now she's not shutting up about it. Like she's teaching me. I'm like, okay, back up a little bit. But it gave me hope that those
Oh, she
other
was teaching Jimmy too.
but those other family members that want to sit and say, well, you know, I'm just neutral. I'm Switzerland. I can't
Oh my
stand that.
gosh.
I can't
My
stand that.
my aunt uses that exact phrase. I'm Switzerland. She uses
Oh,
the
yes.
exact phrase.
Well,
That's
I don't
so
understand what there
frustrating.
is to be Switzerland about. Our abuser's dead. Nobody's ever denied that he did what he did, so like it doesn't make, like as far as our family is concerned, there shouldn't be a side to take. It's like a, it's like a false problem over here. Your situation, Neela, like that sounds so incredibly frustrating. And like, I get where you're coming from, and like just having this big network of people that you feel like you can't even plug into if you wanted to because you're saying you have boundaries, you want to protect your kids, and
Mhm.
it's confusing because you have been intertangled with these people for 50 some years now.
Right. Well, when I did finally have that fight with my mom that I had a couple of years ago, it was actually on Christmas Day, um, 3 Christmases ago. And, I don't know why she chose Christmas Day to bring legal papers to my house to sign, but that's very on brand for her. It's just something that, there's a big family gathering, nobody can have a fight at a family gathering, so I'm gonna do this now while she's unguarded. So, I brought, um the abuse up to her and said, "This is why I can't get along with this person. You know, this is why I can't get along with this person. And so I don't understand why you can't get that through your head. I can put up with this person when I need to when it comes to you, but I'm never going to be close to them. We're never going to be friends. And that's just the way that it is." And the next day, um, my abuser called me and told me I was going to burn in hell
Oh,
and that I was a delusional, psychotic piece of garbage, basically, that my therapist had put things in my head that never happened, and that I'm a liar, that forgot where I came from, and that I owe my life to my mother. And how dare I speak to her and yell at her and tell her things that are untrue. And I said, "You know, that's what you did. You know, as well as I do. You were there." And he said, "You're dead to me," and hung up the phone. "You're dead to me."
wow.
And from that point forward, and this is going on 3 years, I have not had, I mean, the only time I speak with this person is when it has to do with my mother, with her healthcare because she is dealing with dementia, and, so there's that happening, and now she used to live down the street from me, and now she lives with him. So that's like another stab in the back. She lives with my abuser, and she knows what happened. She knows. I told her, and she goes, "Well, I do know that it happened one time." One time is enough. It doesn't have to be multiple times to have scarred me, to have broken me as a person. Um, but obviously it happened many, many times. And when I bring it up to her, she says, "Those are the kinds of things that you bury so we can continue to be a family." And I'm just not willing to do that. Why do I have to unbecome myself to have a family? If I have to not be myself or unbecome what I am to have a family, then I don't want that. I need to be accepted and loved for who I am or not at all.
Absolutely.
So, if you told your family or your mother specifically when you were 11, Neela, and nothing was ever done, like when did you kind of start talking about it again? You've been with your husband for a long time, right? Did he
Yeah, I've been
know?
with Yeah, he knows. I told him. When we first got together, I wasn't really, really open about it, but I did have some anxieties and I had some OCD issues when him and I first started dating. And I kind of told him where things came from. He didn't know who my abuser was. Um, but there was a time in our relationship when I had a little bit of a breakdown, a little bit of anxiety spiral, and I fell apart basically and told him exactly what happened, who it happened. I didn't give him details of the mechanics of how the abuse happened, just that the abuse happened and over the years what what we went through. And he obviously supports me so strongly. Um I also was very honest with my children about it. I told them that I am a survivor of sex abuse and I was molested when I was a child, and why I keep such a close eye on them all the time and why I won't let them hang around with certain people. Um, I was very real with them about, this is your body. Nobody touches your body. Nobody keeps secrets. If anybody ever says this is a secret, we don't tell mommy. You tell me right away. All those things to try to, keep them in the safety zone. Right. Um, I
It was
forgot
one
what.
thing I keyed in with Kendra, like, I kinda she asked me one time, like, "How do you define sexual abuse?" And I kinda stumbled over that one, and when I came back later, I was like, Kendra, what I should have said was the conversation I have with my kids all the time, which
Mhm,
is, if anybody it doesn't matter who it is. Like, if anybody ever interacts with you and tells you to not tell mommy or daddy about it, that it's a secret, I said, "I don't care who it is or what it's about, like, that's a sign you need to tell mommy and
100%.
daddy, because
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
no adult should ever expect a child to keep something secret from their parents. Like, that's a red flag, red flag, red flag."
Right. There's
You know?
absolutely
Right.
no time that should be happening. And taking my kids places and say, "Don't tell mom we were here today." That if you have to lie,
Then yeah,
you should not be taking them there. Um,
absolutely.
so that was one of my huge boundaries was, again, not letting my mom take my kids because she would do that. "We're gonna go to this person's house and don't tell your mom."
Did you have to explain to her why you had to reset that boundary, like, when when you had kids, or did she just inherently know and roll
Oh,
her eyes at you?
it was just such a battle with her. "Why don't you trust me? Don't you trust me? Why do you keep those kids from me? You don't trust me." That's what it always turned into, "You don't trust me." Actually, I don't. I don't trust you. I don't. My mom wanted to move to a warmer climate, and, she does need more one-on-one attention with her memory care. She's just starting to slip into the fingers of dementia, and so, it's difficult, for me to be that as busy as I am between the business that I own and the band that I'm in and running my house and being on the Chamber of Commerce and the board of directors of all those things. I'm very rarely home. I keep myself very busy. Um, and she needed more attention than that. So she moved in with him.
Okay. Now, has he ever, to your knowledge, your abuser, had they like their lifestyle now? Does it still like are the flags still there? I don't know if you know this person closely anymore. Like, are the flags still there that he could still be abusing people, or like what is your thoughts on that?
So I do know he was married to someone for over 20 years and he was never faithful. And the lies that he would tell in order to keep that lifestyle up, he would entangle me in them in the weirdest ways. He would show girlfriends pictures of his children and say they were his niece and nephews, and they were my children, and those were his kids. Um, he would tell my real name to the women he was dating, and then they would find me on Facebook and send me Facebook messages asking me questions about him. Um, this was a pretty consistent issue. I had to block women. Um, so he's a consistent, he's a narcissist. I would say he's a narcissist. Definitely has some kind of there's sociopathic behavior there. There's definitely some kind of borderline personality disorder or narcissistic behavior. And and I've talked to my therapist about this because I'm trying to figure out why he lies the way that he does and why he manipulates people the way that he does because he still continues to do that. And he does it to my mother. So I feel really bad for her that, that's somebody that she loves, but hurt her daughter. So it's a difficult dynamic for her as well, especially since she has a hard time facing the fact that the abuse actually happened because she loves this person and this person manipulates her and lies to her and takes money from her. And I know that to be true because I've seen that happen. So it's a consistent
So
downfall of poor behavior.
sounds like he uses a lot of triangulation as a manipulation tactic, a form of, narrative control. Is that kind of what you're seeing? Just kind of
That's
pitting people
exactly
against each other because man, that torques my ass.
that's exactly the word my therapist used was triangulation. That's exactly the word that she used. So yes,
Jim?
I
that kind of manipulation happens with him all the time, and it's so much easier for me to see now since I stepped back out of the situation. I have a full view now because 'cause I'm not in it anymore.
I noticed like with a lot of abusers, including Angela and I's abuser, that they were previously abused. To your knowledge, did your abuser, do you know of any abuse that they may have faced prior to doing this? Or, I do think that there are some people, like you said, the person's a narcissist, and I do believe there are some people that are just born wrong. But a lot of times, abusers have been abused.
I don't know, I'm not aware of any. I do know that, there was mental abuse in our family, and that came down from grandparent. There was mental abuse, control. I don't I was never sexually abused by another family member as a child, but there was another family member as an adult who put their hands on me. Oh, I forgot about that until just now. I mean, it's not something, it's not like I forgot about it. It's just not something that's constantly on my mind. You know what I mean? Um,
Right.
he was the only person that put their hands on me as a child, but there was definitely emotional and physical abuse from other members in our family.
For me, Neela, I noticed the past couple years, I'm not anti-therapy. I'm not anti-counselors. I do have one. I do enjoy talking to the person. I did find one that I didn't have to counsel back, so it's really nice. Um, but because sometimes that has been an issue for me, and I love that issue. I love helping people, and you know that. But this past 2 years, I have found, my healing journey actually beginning. And I've noticed, Angela and I started this podcast, and I can't believe how much we've grown from it. When did your healing journey really begin for you?
Okay, my healing journey, I would say probably began when I was in my really healing, like really starting to peel it apart in my late 30s, early 40s. That's when I started to really like I thought I had it all together before then. I would tell people all the time I had a shit childhood, sorry, but was a terrible childhood, alcoholic father, sexually abused. My mom was awful to me, but I got out of that house and I did what I had to do to survive. And I thought that that made me a healed person. But what that did, it just made me a hard person. It
Yes.
made yes, I
I
wrapped
don't mean to chuckle at you, Neela, but this is the same shit we've been talking about, like,
Yes.
we powered through our 20s, then 30s, we're
oh,
just, like, crash and fucking burn, man.
yes. I powered through my 20s. I opened up my business when I was 23 years old. Who opens a business at 23 and they still have it when they're 53? Me.
And it's very successful.
And it is a very successful business, and I wrapped myself so deep into my work that that's how I thought I was healing myself, but actually, I was just working my way through my anxiety because that's how I handled anxiety. That's I did if I did not have time to feel anything, I didn't feel anything. I numbed myself out.
And
I numbed
that's basically what I did too.
Mhm.
I've known you for all those years, as we've gotten in our older years here is when I met you, and we both have that. I call it type A personality, and it's a good drive, but it's also a good mask. And I found myself, just a couple years ago when this all hit, like, holy cow, when I was forced to take a break, due to cancer and other things. It was just like, wow, I have been masking this through my work, masking this by staying constantly busy, keeping my mind busy. I found what helped me most through it all, and I know therapy works for Angela and you, was my faith. My faith is what has carried me through. What what helped you most? Was it therapy? Was it faith? Was it community? Was it your boundaries?
Yes. Yes. It's all those things.
All
It's
those.
It's my boundaries, it's my community of friends and friends that I call family. It's, therapy, which like you, therapy is like, "What do you wanna get out of today's therapy?" "Well, I want you to heal me right now. I want this right now. I wanna be better, and I wanna go home today feeling so good."
Well, I'm
Um,
glad I didn't ask you what you wanted to get out of the podcast today, 'cause that would have been a dumbass question.
um, I mean,
Like, "I wanna tell my story, Angela." Like, fuck.
my 30s were hard. I mean, God, I pushed my husband away. I think we almost got divorced twice when I was in my 30s because I was just a very broken, hurting person. And I wanted so bad for somebody to fix me. And I needed to fix myself. I needed to find that within myself. I knew I put so much pressure on my husband. I would tell him, "You're the only person in this world that your opinion matters to me. You can make me or break me as a person." And he said, "How dare you give me that power? That's unfair. You need to heal yourself from the inside and you need to find that within you."
That was actually a beautiful thing he said, but it probably
Yes.
didn't feel like it in the moment,
It didn't. I was really angry with him, but now when I repeat it back, I really feel that. Like, I needed to find
Right.
that power within me, and I realized, like, Dorothy, the power was within you all the time. I mean, I felt like, once I actually started being able to hold my anger and hold my truth, but also be able to look at myself with kindness. I never looked at myself with kindness or sympathy or empathy of any kind. If I did not work myself half to death, I was ashamed of myself that I didn't give it my all. I I ended up having to have double hip replacement. I have shallow hip sockets, hip dysplasia, When I got my first hip replacement when I was 40, I thought my life was over because I can't dance anymore. I'm worthless. There's nothing left of me. I'm worthless. Now, I didn't take into consideration my heart, my drive, my personality, my children, nothing. I just can't work anymore. I'm worthless. My body is falling apart. For some reason, that abuse settled in my body. So when something goes wrong with my body, I feel shame. And it's the same kind of shame that I felt with the abuse. So I had to do a lot of deep diving to release that shame from my body. Whether I put a few pounds on, lost a few pounds, I've had plastic surgery twice, just trying to make myself look like the person that I feel like I should look like. And it all goes back to I'm not good enough because my body was abused and touched and used. And I wanted to change that body. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel that so deeply that I had to change my body because the shame was connected to things that happened to my body.
I know
It does make
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it does make great sense. It's so hard when you carry that shame and people don't realize it. And they look at us, all three of us. Angela's a very successful person. You're a successful person. I'm a successful person. And if you look at us, you don't see, how we view ourselves because of what we went through and how that trauma just lingered through, like Angela said, the 20s, the 30s, even into the 40s. What does self love or self trust look like for you now?
Oh gosh. I'm still working on it. I'm not going to lie. I am still working on it every day. But I tell you that one of the biggest changes I've noticed in myself since I started to uh my road of self-acceptance and self-compassion is that I'm able to go up on stage and sing a set of music and not have a full panic attack afterwards. Like, "Oh my gosh, I never should have done that. I just embarrassed myself in front of all these people." Now I come off the stage and I feel pure joy that I just let all that emotion out of my body, that I entertained people for 3 hours and I go home feeling great. To me, that is a huge hurdle that I passed. I'm able to look at pictures of myself, which I never could before. For the longest time, I couldn't look in a mirror, even though I live in front of a mirror at the dance studio. I mean, I live in front of a mirror, and it was a very difficult spot for me to be in. I think um, I'm able to accept compliments better now. I'm still a work in progress as that goes. I'm still a work in progress with self love.
I think we all are. What do you think, Ange?
I mean, I struggle every day. People ask what does healing look like every day? I think a daily healing process looks like getting up every morning and just doing some daily affirmations. If you remember, like, those old Saturday Night Lives, like, "You're good enough, you're smart enough," and people like, you kinda low key have to do that shit, and it sounds ridiculous, but, like, that is kind of pumping yourself up every day, like, "Hey," like, "You are beautiful, you deserve to be loved, you deserve to be heard, you deserve to set your boundaries, you deserve not to give anyone an explanation for why you said no justifying your no's, no explaining your boundaries. That's the thing I'm working on, and I think Kendra and I might wrap up this season with a little get to the point boundaries episode, but, setting that boundary and being at peace with it and moving on, and I think, like, healing on a daily basis doesn't look like what you do for other people, it's what you do for yourself. Just confident in your decisions and not second guessing everything.
I think, like, well, for Neela getting on the stage, and then, dancing, that is a healing that's come to you and that's helped you. And the affirmations, Angela, for you, for myself, I find it's crazy. It's so simple. Is I love to sit in complete silence with a hot cup of joe, and that is it for like 15 minutes. And that makes my self-worth, I can't explain it. It's just like not even for peace, just like,
I gotta
it's
tell you something.
what did you do?
So the other day, my therapist has been talking to me about self-care, and like money's been tight this last year. I've been taking care of some stuff at home, so I've been really skimping on my self-care. And, like this past weekend, I went and I was going to get a pedicure and I picked up some Starbucks on the way to my
Oh no.
pedicure. So I was getting the pistachio latte, and I get like the cold protein foam on it and stuff. So I get like a nice cup of coffee. But anyway, like I was on the phone with your mom and Jimmy. It was like a three-way call. And she hears me like interacting with the cashier and she was like, "What are you doing now, Angela?" And I said, "I'm picking up my cup of coffee." And she was like, she goes, "You can't make your own cup of coffee at home? What kind of woman are you?"
Oh Lord.
I am doing my self-care. My therapist told me to do my self-care. You cannot tell me not to do my self-care. But
Well,
that's
I'm
why I was
glad.
laughing when you were talking about that. You should have your self-care and drink your cup of joe for 15
Yes. Well,
minutes
I'm
a day.
glad you didn't call me because I'm a big Neela. I don't know if you know this about me. I am a huge conspiracy theorist. And like Starbucks, I would have flipped out. If I knew you were at Starbucks, I'd been like, don't drink that. It's killing you. It literally is. No, I just like making my coffee at home. Sitting, we have rocking chairs on our front porch, and I live in the country, so it's so nice. And it's just that's self-care for me.
Mhm.
And that's what I found like the past couple of years is just how important that cup of coffee is to my healing. It's so simple, but yet so important. And I think it's because it makes me, Neela knows me and you know me, I'm very high strung, very have to be involved in everything. It just makes me stop and it
You're
makes
like,
me
let's
check.
add some more caffeine on top
Yeah.
of all this
But it
energy.
makes me stop and it makes me check. Yeah, but it makes me stop. It makes me check in with myself and a lot of times we don't do that. We check in on everybody else and what we've done all of our lives,
Right.
like by protecting family members or the abusers and not checking in on us. What would you say to our listeners who are just now coming out with their stories that have maybe waited years like us? What advice would you give to them?
Tell your story, tell your truth. There are people here who are going to listen and believe you. We're here. It's one in every two women, one in every six men. We're here in a multitude. And survivors understand like nobody else in the world what it's like to go through with that weight and shame on your shoulders. Tell your story and lighten your load because you deserve it. The shame doesn't belong to you, the shame belongs on someone else.
I like that. All right. I really enjoyed talking to you guys. I'm glad that Neela, you are been our first guest. This is our first season. We actually have one more episode or two more episodes, Angela, before we wrap it up for the season. I think just one
We
more.
we got a twofer coming up.
Oh, twofer coming up. That's right. So we got a twofer, and then we take a break, and then we come back with season two. But I encourage you you'll find your story that you told us today really among ours. So I encourage you to listen to it. So I'm going to close this out with prayer. Thank you again for sharing your story with us. I know it's not always easy, but I've learned a lot from you today in the little time that we've spoken. Heavenly Father, we come before you with open hearts, carrying the weight of stories shared today, stories of pain, of survival, and of courage. Lord, you see every hidden hurt, every silent tear, and every part of our past that still aches. Nothing is unseen by you. We lift up every survivor listening right now. Wrap them in your peace, Lord. Remind them that what happened to them does not define them. Speak truth over them that they are worthy, they are loved, and they are not alone. God, for the parts of us that are still healing, we ask you for your gentle touch. Restore what was broken, bring light into the places that still feel dark. Give us strength for the journey, patience with ourselves, and the courage to keep moving forward, even when it's hard. We thank you for the voices that spoke today, for the bravery to share, for the resilience to keep going, and for the hope that healing is possible. Help us to be safe spaces for others. Give us compassion, understanding, and wisdom so we can support those who are hurting without judgment. And Lord, as we leave this moment, we ask that you give us peace of mind. Help us to breathe, to rest, and to release what we are not meant to carry all at once. We place our pain, our healing, and our stories in your hands. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.